Well, hey, it's Jerry from the Happy Place Diaries, and this video is all about tips that they don't teach at RV school. And by that I mean when you buy your RV, you drive off the lot, the salesman says adios, and you're on your own. So I'm going to give you a couple tips that's going to help you get the most out of your RV. All right, the first tip happens right behind this little compartment here, and that's where my panel is. We keep a little ball level here, and we keep 2 flashlights. Now, having the flashlight here is super important because, number one, I always know where it is. If something happens in the middle of the night and I need to get to the panel, or I need to get down here into the fuse box, I've got a flashlight. And also, I have access to that panel from the front door. So before we put slide outs in and before we push slide outs out, so with the flashlight and the slide outs, we use it as a directional tool. So wherever the beam is, that's where our eye looks. When these slide outs are in, they come about halfway to the floor. So getting back behind this space is super important for us to make sure that, nothing fell back there. And the same thing goes for our kitchen slide and our dining slide, but especially back here in the bedroom, we use it to make sure that nothing has fallen back behind the bed. It's also really nice to have that flashlight if we need to go outside when we hear something go bump in the night, or we got to change propane, or whatever the case may be. So speaking of propane, let's go out to the tank and I'll show you a couple things on the propane that we think is important. Okay, a couple things when it comes to propane. Back in here, you see where our regulator is. There is a little dial that has green and red indicators. Now, a lot of times they'll tell you to open up both of your tanks, and that way the propane will feed from both. Well, if you do that, you're going to run through propane a lot faster. We run one tank at a time. So right now this tank is on, the other tank is closed. And then we have the Mopica sensors, so we know when we're getting close and we need to change out the tanks. The other thing that I wish it was just standard from the manufacturer are these right angle connections. They don't come with the right angle connections, but as you can see, the way the tank sits in here, we've got it facing to the rear because of the way that it attaches to the valve. So we changed our tubes out for threaded stainless and right angles, and it lets the tank fit in here a lot better. Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about propane is put the gas stop on there. It will detect rapid leaks, it detects slow leaks, and it keeps you safe. Now, we don't drive down the road with our propane tanks on, but in the event of any catastrophic leak that's going to shut off your gas, 100%, the only product on the market that'll do that. All right, let's talk about water. So after you buy a new RV anyway, usually they throw in a pressure regulator, something like this Camco pressure regulator. They're regulated to about 55 PSI. And then you could get other pressure regulators like this one that has the little dial that says if your pressure is high, low, or extremely high or good. These are set also right around 55 to 60 pounds. Now we use a good adjustable water pressure valve. It's nice. We have it permanently installed going right into our city water connection that comes from our water filter system right here. That way any water that's entering the trailer is going to be regulated, not going to blow out any PEX. Right now, the only thing that the water is going through before it enters the trailer are our regular hoses. So there's no campground that's going to blow out a hose. So make sure that you have a water pressure regulator. Okay, so when it comes to water, hooking up at the spigot, you'll notice that we don't have a filter there because it's on the inside. But what we do have is a shutoff, and that just makes shutting off the water a little bit easier for us, because you never know what the bib's going to look like when you get to a campground. Sometimes they're the turn knobs. In this case, it's a lever. Sometimes the water is in the ground. Sometimes they're on a big pedestal like this. So having a way that we can do it the same way every time just makes it easier, because every time we leave the rig, we turn off the water at the source. That way, if something weird happens, we don't get another flood. Now, the big thing about when you hook up at the water source, we're at the coast right now, and this water comes from wells typically, which is full of sediment, sand, and all that stuff. So make sure that you test the water before you hook up to your city water connection. And what I mean by that is hook up your hose, but don't have it hooked up to the water. Turn on the water, let it run for a little while. Usually you'll see like little brown comes out or whatever. Once it starts running clear, go ahead and hook it up to the city water. That's the other nice thing about having that little shut off. Just snap that thing closed real quick. Reach down here and hook up to our city water, and then it's just a flip of the knob and our water's back on. Okay, when it comes to electric, we have this little spool from Moride. It's got a really good magnet, hooks right onto the side right here, and it keeps our 7-pin connector from being shoved into our hitch. And that's super important, because I'm always afraid that this cable is going to get frayed or whatever, and we just don't want that. But being able to spool it up nice and neat with this spool for a few bucks, it's nice, and it keeps your cable out of the way, and it keeps it from getting frayed. Now, I know when you bought your trailer, they probably gave you some cheesy chocks, or they told you to go buy chocks. We chalk every single time, and we chalk all 4 tires, back, front. Get these at Harbor Freight. They're not expensive. They're way better than those cheesy chalks, but that should be the very first thing that you do before you unhook, before you plug in, before you do anything. Chalk your tires. We chalk the back tire in the back, the front tire in the front, and we repeat on the other side. The last thing you want is this trailer to roll away. And yes, chalk both sides, because you don't want it to shift either. So that works with a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, whatever you have. Chalk your tires, super important. Well, okay, that's going to do it. There's just a couple of tips to help you get the most out of your RV. Very inexpensive if you're going to go out and buy stuff, but definitely things that we feel are super important. And they never told us that when we bought even our very first rig. They threw in the cheesy chalk, they threw in the bad regulator and all that stuff. But it's definitely worth spending a little bit, going a little bit extra. Like the flashlight, definitely something that is going to help you when things go bump in the night. And I better get out of here before my hair starts getting weird. All right, hey, let us know what you think. If you've got a great tip, put it in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, do all the things, ring that little bell, let you know the next time we put out videos. And we'll see you in the next one.